Hello, old school RuneScape, and welcome to the weekly live stream. I am your host, Mod Sween. I am delighted to be joined by my colleagues, Mod Bruno.
Hey.
Mod Kieran.
Hello, hello.
Mod Oasis.
Hiya.
And a new face. We'll get to questioning a little bit later on, but here's introducing Mod Elena.
Hi, guys.
We've got Mod Spear behind the scenes, making the tech stuff happen, and we've got Mod Acorn and Mod Tide on the chat. So at OSRS and at JagXTide, should you have any questions, we'll get to those. Firstly, some announcements. A few weeks ago now, we released the Death rework. !Death to learn more. Presumably, unless you're really, really good and you haven't died yet, you know all about the update. But anyway, !Death to read the blog and also watch Ferox's video. !New mod, it will take you to the Twitter account of JagXElena, who we'll be talking to in a moment. Drop a follow. That's it for announcements. I love it when it's a light week. That's great stuff. So let's go.
I've got a recommendation on the Death system. If you're a hardcore Iron Man, don't explore the new content. Just a great suggestion there.
That's very much a don't eat yellow snow tip, but I like it, Kieran. Good job.
Yeah.
All right, Elena, how's it going?
It's going great. Excited to be here.
So what we like to do when we have a newbie join the team is introduce them to the community, ask some questions, let them learn all about you. So we'll start easy. What is your current role at Jagex?
I'm on board as a junior content developer. That basically means I'll be designing and creating new content, as well as taking a look at perhaps older content, see if it needs any rework. That's essentially it.
Awesome. So when did you start?
I started on Monday, so I'm very new to this. I'm currently in training. It's been going well so far.
Yeah, so how are you finding the old school team, working remotely, your first couple of days? How's it going?
It's a bit strange, right? Starting a new job, immediately working remotely, as well as I actually had to move from Norway to England to start working here. I don't recommend moving during a global pandemic. It has its challenges, but you know, I made it, and the team's been really welcoming. Every issue with relocation, people have been willing to help. Yeah, people are really nice, so I'm very excited to keep working with everyone.
The chat's
Awesome.
celebrating the Vikings.
That's it. I was just going to say, they've been guessing where you're from until you drop the bombshell.
Yeah, a few of them know me already, I think.
So that kind of takes us on to the next question. The question every old school player has when we introduce a new face. Do you play old school? Have you ever played old school?
I have probably played too much, honestly. I do
Right.
have a maxed main that I've played for a long time, probably since old school came out. I also have a mid-level iron, I would say, on the side. So yeah, I quite enjoy high-level PVM. I have an infernal cape on the main. Not quite yet on the iron, but aiming for it this year, so yeah.
It's just like a series of flexes, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it's like a this and that. Yeah.
So, Bruno, you were one of our
Hello.
resident PVM experts. So, has that title changed now? Are you like runner-up or second?
I'd say in the last 2 years, it's probably like I've probably gone down like a rank or two since Mod Husky joined, and now Elena joined, who both have Infernal Max capes and all that. So I'm not as special I used to be, but I still like to think I'm alright.
I'm pretty sure Elena's now the top PVMer on the team.
Yeah, she probably
Pretty
is,
sure.
yeah.
Pretty sure.
There you go. That's your Twitter bio.
I know I'm
sorted.
total. Sorry?
So that's your Twitter bio sorted. You're the old school's top PVMer.
I know I'm top one in the ranks when it comes to the team high scores in total XP. I don't know if I can take the top PVMer title though.
I think you can. I mean, I think you do anyway. But yeah, we have staff high scores that we send around every Friday around the office, and so like that's the top tier competition because you're always hunting down the next spot up. And then somebody joins, like Elena comes in, and everyone gets knocked down a position.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question for you, just for the introduction stuff. We ask this to anybody. This is your chance to get creative. If you could add anything to the game, unpolled, what would you add to Ultimate RuneScape?
Well, I do love high-level PVM. I have done Chambers of Xeric, I've done TOB. It's no surprise that I would really love to see Raids 3 come into the game in some sort of way. I do love a good challenge, so if anything, I would love to see that.
An easy win with the chat, that one.
Everyone likes
Excellent.
that.
Thank you very much.
What's the next one going to be called? It's going to be something of something. We've got Theatre of Blood. We could have the Reservoir of Gold. I don't know. Like
The Bank of England.
it's at some location of, and then something. That's how you name things.
Oh, yeah, it's noun or noun. It's
The Nightmare
I'm
of
sure
Ashihama, yeah.
The Pyramid of Sand. There you go. There you go. You heard it here first.
Confirmed.
it comes different from every other pyramid. Okay, anyway, thank you very much for answering those questions. We are delighted to welcome you to the team. Everybody in the chat, !new mod, drop her a follow. Why don't you throw a smiley face in the chat to show you're welcome. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the rest of the introductions for everybody else. Let's start with you, Bruno. How's it going?
It's going right. Yeah. Been really busy working on the PvP hub recently and just managing the updates, that sort of stuff. But this week's been a lot less stressful than the previous few weeks, so got that going for me.
Okay, that's good. Glad to hear that it's okay. Sometimes it's fine to be okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Modcast, how are you?
Alright.
What do you-
Working at home does have its ups and downs. Like, I mean, you have days where it's just like, oh, it's okay, and you know, I think it puts a level of tiredness on you that actually working in the office doesn't. So at least it has for me, it does. There's days where I'm just absolutely knackered compared to others, and it's like you haven't even driven to work and stuff. But yeah, no, been busy. I've been doing, as I tweeted out the other day, like I've had a lot of recruitment and onboarding new staff like the last few months. Obviously, Elena's another one we've brought in. We've actually got another dev who started in the last couple of weeks who hasn't been on the Q&A yet as well. So I'm sure you'll see him at some point too, which is really exciting. And we've got another person joining in the next month or so, I believe, as well. So, you know, really exciting times. Really exciting times. That's taken up a ton of my time. So, yeah. I'm starting to free up a little bit from that now, so I'll be able to pay a little bit more attention to the content that the team's doing and such too. So exciting.
Great times, especially at this. You know, we're in a pandemic. Some companies are struggling, but I think it's a sign of how fortunate we are that we're in an industry and at a studio that's doing well, is able to grow, able to expand, can bring on new people, and ultimately that's going to lead to more and more content to delight more and more players.
It's been honestly, it's been an interesting challenge. Like from my perspective, as a lead, as somebody who's a manager to people we're bringing in, it's like ultimately I have a responsibility, and the rest of the team have a responsibility to help make sure new staff feel welcome. Like Elena joining yesterday, it's a weird environment where people don't feel like they're going to have that belonging to Jagex. When you come to the office and you're all part of the team, you're all hanging out, you don't get that. So you can imagine if you're sat at home and nothing really changes, you're still just sat at home, but now you're part of the team. It's hard to feel like part of the team. So it's bringing in those sort of things. We do little things like tea breaks every day. There's a Zoom call every single day where everyone just joins in and, you know, has a chat for 15 minutes. Things like that, because that simulates us like going to the kitchen and having a chat. Little catch up about things that are going on. Little things like that. So, you know, it's been a challenge. But I'm really happy with how we've been able to just adapt as a company, as a team, to obviously the pandemic situation. So, and you know, we're heading towards the end of that at least. So, you know, I'm good.
Okay, Mod Oasis, let's go to you next. How's it going? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been alright. I've been working on the Ferox's Enclave, just kind of getting that over the line. The last of Poll 71 stuff, which is exciting. But yeah, I feel like I've turned into a bit of an old man because outside my window, I've now got a bird feeder. So every now and then, I just like to look out the window and just watch the birds for a while. So I do feel like an old man, but it's fun.
Okay, Modelena, we've kind of covered this a bit earlier, but we'll end with you. How's it going? What have you been up to the last few days? Can you tell us anything about training?
Well, for the last 2 weeks, I've had to be in self-isolation because when you're moving into a new country, you kind of have to do that, just in case I've been in contact with anyone on the journey here. I started on Monday, like I said before, and training's just been pretty intense, actually. It's a bit strange having to do this all online, but yeah, the first day was basically all meetings. Spent most of the day with Kieran, I think, between those meetings. Yesterday I started with mod Lenny, I believe his mod name is. And we've just been at it, doing various RuneScape exercises since then. Both yesterday and today. But yeah, just gotta make sure to take enough breaks, drink some tea, and you're doing good.
British already. I like it.
Yeah, I'm trying. Gotta get some fish and chips though, I think.
I think there's some kind of question related to that a little bit later on, so we'll cover it. We'll cover that soon. I think somebody else about takeaways or something. Anywho, let's go straight into the questions. Let's start with some questions from the chat first. So remember, we've got Mod Acorn and Tide on the chat, at OldSchoolRS or at JagXTide, should you have any questions you'd like to ask us. Stefan Law asks, could we get a transmog for a mole pet to turn it pink? Make it cost the nuggets from the Motherlode mine, because that's where the pink mole is from.
Please. That's my view. I'm shocked that the original mole pet wasn't the pink version as well. You got all these little cute baby moles in that lair. They're amazing, and I can't believe we don't have it already. So I would love to do it. I would just love a way to add it. That's quite nice. It's nice if it's a reward rather than just you can just have it. So
I think MLM mine is a pretty good place to put it. I didn't think of that before, but yeah, I think gold nuggets for it would be good.
Yeah, I do like the suggestion. It's a cool pet. Would have been nice to add it a while ago, but it's never really been a priority. So
Makes sense.
Okay. Cool. We'll consider that one. We've got a poll coming up soon, I think, so perhaps we can look at getting it added. The question from Dirty Harry asks, can the Volatile Staff be added to Last Man Standing because it is a PvP weapon? Perhaps this is one we should take offline to Mod Rock, who designed and had a hand in developing Last Man Standing. Perhaps it's probably best if we get him to answer that. Everyone's nodding in agreement. I like it.
Yeah.
Next question. CLG Zone has a question for Mod Elena. It's a tricky one. To put you on the spot, can you name any of the 3 wise monkeys in the Recipe for Disaster subsection freeing... oh god, I can't pronounce the name. The king monkey.
Awuwugai or something?
Oh, okay.
I know that's a monkey.
No,
I'm not sure if it's one of those monkeys, but it's a monkey.
it is a monkey. Okay, that works. I'm going to give you a tick. You've answered that one properly. Hef Jam asks, at OSRS, will you ever decide to continue with the quest line of Contact?
So I mean, this is the TLDR. This is like a really roundabout question to asking how you can add Menethos, I suppose, because it's that quest line. I think you couldn't really say we're never going to do it. Of course we're going to. So the answer is yes. At some point we will. I mean, I'm not confirming that. Might be next year. It might be the year after that. But we don't know yet. Is the honest answer to that. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to do it at some point.
It's one of those things which is on the table, but a lot of other things are also on the table. So it's like, what do we want to go for first? Like, we've just done a lot in Mauritania. We'll probably take a break from Mauritania and then come back some other time.
I think it's the case with... I mean, lots of players have their desired questline continuation in their mind, and also the region it will unlock. So for all of those questions, And I hate to take the easy out. It's a case of, yeah, we will get to it at some point, but we don't know when yet. Which I guess as a player sucks because you want to know when you can, further the lore or engage with the characters you love, or unlock new places, or engage with the content you think's going to come with it. But for us, we kind of have to juggle the resource we've got, the plans we've got, and then player expectations. One thing to note is that our strategy team are still working their way through the annual survey. In that survey, we asked you what quest lines you'd like to see continued and stuff. So ultimately, we hope to end up with it in a situation where we know the content that you want us to work on, and then we can crack on with it.
I think everyone actually wants Cold War Part 2, or at least I do, because it ended on such a cliffhanger.
I mean, even in the team, we've got our own preferences for what we want to work on. Like when we have our ideation times and stuff, we're all very supportive of one another. But you can't deny there's a bit of an ulterior motive in, I hope everyone chooses my content over somebody else's content.
I mean, just to go through. I mean, not going to go through every idea, but like a number of quests obviously come up in ideation. People are thinking about these things. Like somebody in the chat just mentioned Fairy Tale Part 2. Obviously, that's another unfinished storyline. There is a pitch and rough idea of what a story could be for Fairy Tale 3. Somebody's made a pitch for Ellie Workshop 3. All these other quests, even the smaller quests, which are less popular, are still thought about. So, at some point, it's nice to be able to say we would get around to all of them. But when it comes to big announcements, and like if we were going to do Menethos, we probably wouldn't be coming on the stream saying, yeah, we're doing it next week. We're going to save that for a big RuneFest announcement because that's going to be awesome if we could go on stage at RuneFest and say, the Pyramids of Sand in Menethos, Raids 3. I don't know, So.
But that's as our team grows. Today we're welcoming Mod Elena, !new mod, drop her a follow. Mod Oasis, pretty new. Lots of other new devs. Kieran's already mentioned new people to start. As our team grows and expands, we can start working on more of these projects concurrently. So hopefully the release schedule will be a bit more packed as we come later on.
Yeah, the team is so much bigger now, so we just naturally have the scope to actually be able to work on a lot more medium-sized and bigger projects alongside each other. Up until really last year, start of this year, we could only really work on one major thing at a time. It was so hard to try and juggle lots of different things. So just realized, by the way, if we call it Pyramids of Gold, it'll be called POG. And that, if you're adding POG content to the game, you can't go wrong. So.
And the person
POG content
as well, champ.
Exactly.
I just mentioned the annual survey, and there happens to be a question in the chat from a player called Airreed, and they ask, it's been a while since the annual survey was sent out. What has the team learned from the survey? What were the popular requests from said survey? So unfortunately, we don't have the full results or the full recommendations from the strategy team yet. They're still working through it. However, we had some sneak peeks, and I was using some earlier actually in bit of context. We're getting to that point in the year where quite a few of us are having to do a lot of PowerPoint presentations and decks and stuff. And I've been doing one looking at polling recently and polls and stuff. One thing we've learned from the annual survey is that a massive 96% of players believe that the polling system is vital to the game's identity, which I think is it shouts leaps and bounds about. If we think about what the core pillars of the game are, what we should celebrate, what's really marketable, I think the poll system is key. And just unrelated to that, did you know that between July 2019 and July 2020, like right now, we launched 19 polls with 274 questions and 928,933 total voters. That's nuts. That's so many votes cast. Bit of a off topic from the question there, but I thought it was an interesting tidbit to share. Shall we move on to the questions? Right,
let's do it.
Up first is Mr. Fliz. Mr. Fliz asks, can we update Vorkath to be in line with Zulrah in that the dying before 50 kill count is free?
I'm interested in what other people think as well here, because we could, and we've explored the idea of deaths being less harsh the earlier you are in learning a boss versus later down the line. Now, that might want to vary by the difficulty of the boss. It might be like, okay, by the time it's not free up until 50, but it scales up in cost, for example. So, you can play with different systems if you really want to, if you want to do that. Zulrah is a bit of an exception, though, because ultimately Zulrah's been a free death since 2016 or 2015 when it was added, right? So it's been 5.5 years. It was harsh to then make it harder to learn and costly to learn than what it was in the past. So, and that's why that was left in that way. So I'm not keen to go and roll that out to everywhere, but I'm up for the discussion, like of making it less harsh on your first attempt and so on.
I also agree with some of the people in chat saying that Vorkath's a lot easier of a boss to learn than Zulrah, so arguably there's not as much reason for you to have such an easy time learning it as well. So I mean, to even get to Vorkath, you have to kill Vorkath during the quest, and that's like pretty good experience, so I personally leave it as it is.
Yeah,
I agree. Vorkath's a lot harder to learn, so
if we consider, sorry to jump in, if we consider why we made the change anyway. So when we first proposed the death mechanics that we implemented, there wasn't this, I guess, learning period. We added that as a kind of compromise. Vorkath always had the reclaim fee attached. Zulrah didn't. We wanted to add a fee to Zulrah. That's such a marked departure from how the game was, like the status quo, that we felt the need to compromise. Because Vorkath always had the fee attached, we felt it's fine to keep it intact. So I personally think it's absolutely fine as it is, particularly when the profitability of Vorkath is higher than Zulrah anyway. Plus the fact that
Another thing to keep in mind as well is that at 50 KC you have the guaranteed Vorkath head, which grants you the best in slot range cape. So do we really want to get that for free? Well, you have to work for it, but the deaths wouldn't matter.
I just want to know who had the vroom vroom going on. Like,
who was that? That was funny.
that was on me. Yeah. I did mute on mic, but damn room vroomers.
Right. Anyway,
that's funny.
Anonym asks, can you add Chambers room timers similar to how the Theatre of Blood has timers for every room?
Yes, we could do that. We could do lots of different things as well. But if it's a priority people want, I don't see why not. We've done a lot of different Chambers improvements recently, and that one wasn't on the list, sadly. But at some point, it's cool. It's nice to be able to see how time's going along the way, right? The same as in Theatre of Blood, you've got a good idea how fast your run is before you even get to the end. That's cool to see. Theatre of Blood is a little easier in that it has defined start points for each boss, though. Chambers of Xeric is less so. It's more of a free running. At what point do you start it? Do you start at the time that somebody runs into the room, or what? So I think that would work. I think you can still do it. So, it's harmless. It's just a chat message that outputs the current time. So
cool.
There's no reason not to, as such.
Okay, moving on to the next question. Glasses Bro asks, are skilling pet thresholds a thought? I'm considering people who have been on ridiculously long dry streaks. I think a threshold could help.
I think the skilling pets, no. And also for boss pets, no, because, I mean, if it was a thing that was implemented with the release, then fair enough, but I think it's been so long that it's sort of, like, unfair. It's sort of similar, like, argument to untrimmed capes, like, yeah, it would have been nice, but now that it's been like 10 years, well, not for old school, but it's been like a good 6 years for old school, and people have got 99s, and there's no way they're going to keep their untrimmed capes. I don't think we should do the same. Also, for skilling pets, there is a sort of a threshold, which is 200 mil, so if you do go that dry, at least you get an increased chance. Which ain't that bad.
I thought you were quite misleading at the start. You were like, skilling pets, no. And I was expecting you to say, but every other pet, yes. But then you went right in with no, no, no. Quite damning. I personally agree with you. Thresholds. But Mod Acorn has very kindly added a Strawpoll to the chat. So let's take a quick read of the Twitch chat to see how they feel about skilling pet thresholds as well. And while we wait for everybody to have a say, let's move on to the next question. Repulsive Delivery asks, could you add a take-all option to Mage Capes and God Books, please? It's really annoying spam clicking, and PKs and clans usually tend to obtain them in the thousands, so they never have to go back.
Good, because you've got to click on the statue, but it does appear on the floor. I don't think it disappears from the floor when you pick them up, right? So it's not the worst, but it could be a lot better.
Yeah, it is not too bad at the statues, because you can just spam click the same cape, because the cape never like disappears anymore. I'd be fine with it. We just have to find a way. I don't think we can click one item and loot 28.
What if you right click and the option is pray lots and lots and lots of times, and your players is like praying, and capes stack and stack and stack.
Honestly,
yeah, go on.
Honestly, yeah, obviously totally up for it, really.
That's just a convenience help, isn't it? I quite like that idea. So earlier we asked, should we add skilling pet thresholds? And a whopping 72% of you said, no, you shouldn't do that. 3% skipped and 25% voted yes. They're the odd one out, so we shan't be going ahead with that, I believe. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Hyundai King 69 asks, would you ever consider deciding yourselves that a new skill will be added, but the players must vote on which skill it would be? This way everyone wins. I would counter that question, which is this way everyone wins, because I think the people that don't win are the people that don't want the skill. You're forgetting those. They've been quite vocal in the past. One of the questions we asked in the annual survey was, would you like a new skill? You don't know what the skill is, but you're open to the idea of one. So I think let's wait for that to come back first. And I don't ever foresee us being in the position where we say, this content is coming, vote on how you want it. Earlier I spoke about the importance of polls. I think that just makes a bit of a mockery of it. So my input for that is, no, I wouldn't consider doing that. I don't know if anybody else...
Ultimately, the problem is, if you did do this, let's say we're adding a skill, and we then decide, okay, fairly, we're going to pull 6 different ideas. In reality, the winning one might only have 20% of the votes. Because that'll be, if you had such an even spread, that means 80% of people aren't getting what they want, and only 20% get the skill they want. It's not very reflective of the player base. So, look, obviously, a skill is still something we're willing to explore, because a lot of people still say they want a skill, and we see a lot of opinions on that in the annual survey results as well. However, if we're going to explore a poll, it will still go through a 75% poll. That's fundamentally how it's got to go. So.
Someone in the chat pointed out that we make changes without polling it. You're quite right, we do that. But I don't think we'll ever do that for anything of the scale of a new skill. A new skill is so impactful and changes the way you play. And not just your everyday playing, but it's gonna alter your long-term motivations for playing. I don't ever foresee us making that kind of on-poll change. The stuff we like to do on-poll, well, I say like to do, the stuff we kind of sometimes hesitantly or begrudgingly do on poll, it's stuff that we feel is for the good of the game, integrity changes and the like. Shall we take some questions from the chat again? We have got Rillen, whose name is spelt backwards, and I almost tried pronouncing it, but I'm going to say it backwards instead. Asked, will the July Gazette come this week? The answer to that is no. I think we're aiming for either next Wednesday, the 15th, or the Wednesday following, which is the 22nd. The reason for that is this Gazette is a little bit more special. We want to talk to you about kind of the roadmap in a bit more detail, give you some clarity on the releases that you can expect to see for the rest of the year in perhaps more detail than we have done in recent Gazettes. So it'll take a bit longer. Which kind of leads us into Ryan Dunk 95's question, which is, how is progress coming along with the clan system? Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend, literally, that's what clans are about, right? Having a place to go and get with your friends. But it's being worked on right now. There's a lot of tech problems still to go through. Ultimately, that's the long part of the process of clans, is going through the engine port over to handle clans. It's also going to handle the idea of multiple different groups as well, because under the hood, it's just a grouping system. It's like a group of players together associated with one name. So the same system will be used for a group Iron Man group as well as clans. So integrating all this new tech, Ash is still working with the engine team directly to work through that, and that's currently the main focus there. So no change as of yet. obviously, we'll keep you updated as we go along too. So,
And just a note on that question: if you go to last month's Gazette, which might still well be !Gazette in the chat, Modash put together an article on the I think the clan finding and activity systems. Worth a read. It's Modash, so always very interesting insight. Take a read of that article. 2 more questions from the chat I'd like to ask before we go back to the other questions in the doc. But Elena, players really want to learn a bit more about you. Do you have a mutagen?
I do not, no. I have a booger helm, unfortunately. I'm currently dry, though, for the mutagen, if that's a comfort, but never lucky.
Okay. How about pets? Do you have any, and are you dry on any?
There I am quite lucky. I believe I have 20 pets on my MA.
Okay.
About 3, 4 on the iron. So yeah, I'm quite lucky on the main. I think there's only 2 places I'm dry when it comes to pets.
I like how the response from the chat is, "Excuse me, 20."
I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do after maxing is to hunt for stuff like pets. So you gotta keep going, hunting for something.
Nice. Okay. Let's go back to the questions on the doc. We've got Jay Forks asks, could a quick travel function be added to spirit trees? Stuff like the last visited destination, similar to jewelry boxes and fairy wings.
I took a look at this, I think, for poll 70. There's just no space left on spirit trees to have another op. You can only have like 5 ops on a piece of scenery like a spirit tree, and I don't think there is any space. It'd be nice, but we'd have to remove something else from them, and I don't think we'd want to do that.
Okay, works for me. So we'll move on to the next question. Asian Turtle asks, could we have the option to charge crystal weaponry permanently, like the Blade of Zeldor?
I think we do want to do something with like crystal armor and weaponry anyway, but it might be nice to chuck this in as well. Obviously polled, but I don't see why not. We'd have to work out, like a crystal cost. Yeah, I think it might be something nice for the future.
Okay, next question. I'm going to ask from Duffman, but quite a few people have been asking similar questions, and we've kind of condensed the question down a bit. So Duffman asked, there's a few fan-led HD projects. What's the deal with them? I don't know, some players are quite keen for an official stance and stuff. And this answer might be a bit frustrating for you. I know you don't want to wait, but the honest answer is we'll be engaging with any HD developers privately, and we'll communicate any decision publicly. At the moment, there aren't any authorized HD clients. Should that change, we'll communicate it. We want to be as transparent as possible when it comes to anything to do with third-party clients or our client. So stay tuned, I guess, is the answer. Okay, next question. Kids on, I'm not trying to pronounce that. So Kids on asks, what are your thoughts on recoloring the trim on the Prospector set with excess golden nuggets? These colors will be similar to the golem recolors.
I think it's quite a neat idea. I have seen it around for, I feel like it's been around for a few months at this point, or years, sorry. It could be a nice thing to do with the pink mole reskin of the pet 2-in-1.
Yeah, sweet. That sounds good to me. Okay, next question. Moderators are taking a lot of these. You're on a hot streak. RSZ asks, when will the ability to auto-clean herbs be added to the game? You've already done similar things with stuff like enchanting rings. Thanks.
This is a really timely question because we've kind of started to look at what we want to do for the next poll. And we need to discuss it internally and everything and see if it's something we want to actually do or put towards the poll. But it is one of the questions that we're kind of thinking about bringing forwards It would be a lot slower than doing it yourself because you can just rattle them all out, but it'd be like, I guess, like the same rate as fletching or something like that, where you just clean one and it just rattles off and does the rest. So just AFK.
Cool. Okay. Lots of people in the chat have been spamming stuff in relation to this. So VW Lad asks, "What are your thoughts on celebrities playing RuneScape? People like Soldier Boy and AJ Tracy."
I'm a fan of it. I don't think we'll get mod Soldier Boy. Sorry, guys. Unless he like decides to apply for Jagex and gets a job role. But sorry to disappoint. Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's like seeing someone you really like look up to also like try to play something that you really enjoy. So it's sort of like the best of both worlds. It's a nice collaboration. So hope we get more of those in the future.
We all have that sort of like demographic, like young 20s. We all grew up playing RuneScape. Like all these like younger celebrities, there's a good chance they played this sort of game when they're growing up because we all did. So it's like it's remarkable how many people you find out have played it in the past. It's quite cool.
I mean, I've been to quite a lot of industry events where people you wouldn't suspect have played RuneScape or still even play RuneScape, and not just like major celebrities, but so many people in the kind of the gaming and esports industries as well. Right, I thought as something quite fun, you know, we all need a bit of fun in our lives. I know sometimes the chat don't quite like us mods having fun, but we're going to do it anyway. I've asked all of us on stream to pick a celebrity they'd love to play RuneScape with. We're going to talk about who they are, and then we're going to straw poll you, the chat. You can choose which celebrity you'd most like to play old school with. Maybe we can then reach out to them and get them to play old school. That'd be fun. Right, let's start with Mod Bruno. Who have you chosen and why?
I chose Post Malone because I'm a big fan of his like work in music, so that would be really awesome. I'm pretty sure he's already played before because he's mentioned it, so it wouldn't be that outlandish. So that would be awesome as well.
He does play or has played, and he's also been discussed in the works of like some cool campaigns and stuff to do with him. So maybe it's a bit more realistic than you might think. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Mod Kieran, who have you chosen?
I regretted my choice all of a sudden because I saw somebody in the chat suggest Carl Pilkington, and that would have been absolutely amazing. But my proposition is Adam Sandler. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth do you want Adam Sandler to play RuneScape? Well, firstly, I think it'd be good banter, but secondly, it's time spent not making movies. So, you know, there's an upside to everyone here. So,
See, we had this discussion earlier, but I want to reiterate. His newest movie, Uncut Gems, on Netflix, really, really good. Worth a watch. All right, Mod Oasis, who have you chosen and why?
I went with quite a dry choice looking at it now. I said Simon Pegg, mostly because he seems just like a nice stand-up guy who's made pretty much like top-tier movies. So he'd be a nice chill guy to play games with, and he is a bit of a nerd as well. So he might play RuneScape, you never know.
Probably. I mean, his really early sitcom Spaced, they played a lot of video games, and even in all the other movies actually. Shaun of the Dead, video games is quite key to the plot, and playing games and not realising that there are zombies all around. Elena, which celebrity would you most like to play old school with and why?
I chose Ashley Johnson, and for those of you who don't know who that is, she is a voice actress. She recently did the voice of Ellie in The Last of Us 2, and I personally know her from Critical Role, which is a show about people playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is one of my hobbies. So I feel like she'd be a proper gamer, and I think she'd have a lot of fun playing RuneScape.
Nice. I've chosen a guy called Raf Costa, not the most well known, but has affected the MMO industry more than anyone I can think of. Was a key director on games like Ultima Online, creative director on Star Wars Galaxies, I think creative director on EverQuest 2. I'd love to get them to play old school and just talk about stuff like game design, game mechanics. Have we made the right decision, that kind of stuff. Also follow him on Twitter, really entertaining dude. All right, with that, let's get that straw polled, and we'll see who the chat would most like to play old school with. And maybe we can reach out to them, get them playing old school. Anywho, enough of fun. That's enough fun for one stream. Let's move on to the next question. Guard Falador asks, we've been getting a lot of endgame content lately. Are there plans for more mid-tier content or fixing some dead content?
The short answer is watch this space. The longer answer is yes, we do have plans, of course, but we need to not just do endgame content. We need to do content that appeals to everyone, and as well. So there's lots of space for fixing up old content, and that'll absolutely be a focus of a lot of our work, and also doing middle level content, things that help to bridge those gaps between like the low end and the mid game, and the mid game and the end game. Like, I think the biggest gaps we have across the game really are those like when you're going from like level 70s, 80s upwards, the levels start to get a lot longer. There's not too much variety. You're often stuck with one skilling method for a while. That sort of thing is help add a bit more diversity and into the game and give different activities to go and do.
Cool. I know
as well as improving the existing ones, of course. So
yeah, I mean it's a balancing act, isn't it? I know I keep harking back to things like the annual survey, but in that we asked lots of intricate questions like, how would you like us to spend our time? How would you prefer your quests to be long and detailed or shorter and more of them? So we've got those answers come back just to find out a bit more about how you prefer to play. We also have another straw poll for you. I know you might get a bit of a straw poll fatigue, but we wanted to make this stream a bit interactive. So we're going to ask you how you prefer us to spend our time and what content you'd like to see. So we'll get that up shortly. Next question, whilst that happens, Code Passion asks, can we get a vault option on the Puro-Puro grass, please? It can give agility XP instead of strength. This will allow skillers to go there safely. So what they're suggesting is vaulting over the grass rather than having to push and wait for it. The
strength XP is minimal, right? Is that true?
Yeah,
like it's a negligible amount?
Like a couple, yeah. But over time it would add up for like someone who's a skiller.
Yeah. Can we just remove it? Like, surely removing it, I think, will be a bit easier than adding a different option. It serves no purpose for those who want the XP, and there's no reason to prevent skillers from participating in catching implings either, to be honest. So
I don't really have a preference, rather, for those. Maybe this is a discussion we take offline. Maybe look to include it in the next poll 72, I believe, that kind of stuff. Okay, next question. Lord Goes2 asks, in the in-game construction skill guide, you can check the material cost for various furnitures by clicking on any icon. Could this feature be added to the magic skill guide so we could check rune cost for spells? Currently, the only way to check the rune cost is to be on that specific spellbook.
Yes, you could do it. It'd be a bit of manual effort to do so, but Ash did work when he did the new spellbook with the filters and such to centralize all the magic data, which was previously all over the place. So, Ash did an amazing job there. That makes this sort of thing a lot easier. I would ultimately like to do a much bigger work on those skill guides in general, because they're a bit of a mess as well. I'd love to make them all better display of information, etc. Like flashing when you level up. If you level up a skill and you're mid-combat or you get interrupted, you instantly lose the level up messages as well. So having the skill guide like sort of flash so you can click on it, that was a change that was made 2009, 2010 maybe. Like those little bits of improvements that are just nice. And that part of that is displaying better information for players on like, how do I cast this spell? How do I do this thing? Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's go to the results of both straw polls. So we asked, which celebrity would you most like to play old school with? And we asked you, the chat, to vote on choices that we've come up with. Well, Bruno, you've won. 45% of the players would like to play old school.
Yeah.
Mod Kieran in second with Adam Sandler. Mod Oasis in third with Simon Pegg. Just as a note, Mod Kieran, I know you're a football fan like me. Somebody in the chat said Phil Foden, the Man City player, plays old school. So maybe we should do some investigative work there.
No, Dwight Gale does. Dwight Gale, Newcastle player, does.
Are you joking?
I've seen it come up. I've seen that come up on Reddit before. So it came up somewhere. I can't remember where I've seen that.
Interesting. Maybe we could be a shirt sponsor going forward or something.
Perhaps if he spent more time practicing football rather than playing old school RuneScape, he could have, put the chance away the other week. So anyway, did not to go down that barrel.
Yep. You won't be playing much longer in a bit of a spite there. So the second straw poll was asking players how they prefer us to spend our focuses when it comes to game development. 44% of players said they prefer us to be releasing bigger but less frequent content, stuff like with end game focus. So that's 44%, the majority in this poll here. 28% said they prefer us to spend time revisiting older content, the dead content, so to speak. And really close to that was 26% of players saying they prefer our focuses on smaller but more frequent. It's quite an even spread there, with just over like a third saying they'd like the bigger but less frequent content, and the rest saying I want you to spend your time on small content and fixing content, which does sound like how we're trying to prep ourselves anyway. So that's reassuring to know that we're on the right track.
Yeah, ultimately you need a balance of these things. The game needs all to be healthy.
Excellent. Okay, let's move to the Twitch chat before moving on to the rest of the questions in the doc. Oh wow, this has been a fun stream. It's absolutely flown by. There's only 15 minutes left. Can you believe it? Anywho, a mobile viewer asks, considering there's no RuneFest this year, will there be some sort of online showcase displaying the roadmap for 21 potential updates? You know, the RuneFest reveals.
Well, now that you ask, we're going to do them right now. No, kidding. We've had conversations about it. I don't think we're planning to do a full, like, sort of online version of RuneFest itself. Although we might end up still doing some sort of announcement stream within Old School. The honest answer is we don't actually know yet. We're still working these things out, and we'll be having the discussions soon about how we want to go forward, because, of course, we are going to have some major updates in 2021, as we do every year, and we'd love for players to be able to talk about them and announce them. Without RuneFest, we'll probably be talking about, well, how are we going to talk about these things? So, you know, we'll ultimately have a solution. We'll come up with something. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
Yeah. So if I think about what makes RuneFest really special, it's the player-to-player interaction. Our players get a chance to meet their friends, meet their clanmates, you know, the people they talk to daily, but maybe have never met in real life. That's special. Also, the player-to-staff interaction as well. We love meeting players. I mean, we love talking to players. We love doing these streams, but again, meeting them in person, equally as special. It's an incredible moment. The next to that, honestly, I think the reveals, like the RuneFest content reveals, is what RuneFest is really about. It makes it worth it, you know, that kind of hype and the excitement. So even if we perhaps can't recreate like an online virtual RuneFest with everything else, if we can just identify those aspects, you know, do what Nintendo Direct do, those kinds of things. We just need a platform to launch the really cool stuff we want to talk about. Also worth noting that whilst as a team and a studio, I think we've really adapted well to, you know, remote working in light of COVID. It has had big knock-on effects on the way we work. It has impacted how efficiently we work. So let's say there's a bit of a knock-on effect on how fast content devs can dev and design. Okay, that's not the only delay that happens. That delay then could also lead into the QA testers delaying or it being communicated. Like the delays become incremental and they stack up. So because of that, we've also had to look at our roadmap, look at what we can start plotting in terms of 2021. So those are all the types of things we'd like to cover at some point, using a platform, maybe some kind of virtual RuneFest or online event. But there'll definitely be something this year, for sure. Just maybe not to the grand scale of a all online virtual RuneFest. I mean, if we think about it from our perspective, we wouldn't want to miss out on a big marketable beat to point all our players to, prospective players to, and press to. So it's in our best interest, as well as the players' best interest too. Next question from Gator573. As a JMod, who's the one RuneScape player you'd love to meet? We'll go around in a circle. Mod Bruno, you're up first.
I'm not too sure, because like most of the like people who I'd want to meet I've already met because of things like RuneFest. I mean, there's always that like obvious one, like Xeric. That'd be cool to meet him. He's like such a legendary player, but I don't really have one, I'd say.
I'd say the same.
Kieran?
I'd
Yeah.
say the same. Like I've met so many people. Both obviously, there's all the streamers and all the YouTubers which are cool to meet, and obviously we all respect all their work. So it's nice to have that relationship with those people. But even beyond that, like I've met so many different friends over this game. Like over the time I've been playing it since 2007. Like, and I've had the opportunity to meet so many of them. Most of them at RuneFest. So there's no one that jumps to mind when I'm like, damn, I still really want to meet this person. So I could go with Zezima as well. It'd be cool to have Zezima come over to RuneFest at some point.
Yeah.
I've not been to RuneFest yet, so I'm going to say everyone, but a few people have said in chat, I wanted to know what was going through the mind of Duriel 321 when he calls the Palador Massacre.
I'm sure he's not that bad of a guy. He just saw the opportunity and started wrecking moves. Like, I would have done the same thing.
Kid does the same thing. Okay, maybe that should be an entry question when we interview prospective candidates. If you were in Doriel's position, what would you have done? I think that's a good screening question right there. Well, Elena, which player would you most like to meet?
It's a difficult one, right? I feel like a lot of my friends online that I play the game with, I haven't gotten to meet yet. I met a lot of them at RuneFest last year, so I'd probably say one of them. If not, then probably Zezima. He is a legend. Another legend is Wooks. I haven't gotten to meet him yet, so I think that would be cool.
Awesome. I can't think of any notable players that I haven't yet met. I mean, obviously, you guys have said the most prominent ones. I think for me, I just like to be able to meet some of the players from when I was first playing, when I was 11 when I made my first account. Like those first group of friends whose display names I can't even remember. Like my first clan leader, whose name I can remember. Those would be great to kind of reconnect with. Okay, I've got some more questions I'd like to get answered before we wrap up the stream. Some quite hot topics. So Ian Spam asked, could we get an update on Bounty Hunter 2, please? So we've worked out what we'd quite like to do with the content. It's pretty much what we proposed in the last Gazette, PvP-wise. We're going to communicate that in a blog to be released next Thursday, so Thursday the 16th, which will be in line with the PvP hotspot release. The TLDR is we're going to pretty much rework the target and reward system, remove the rewards, make it so it's less about the reward function for Bounty Hunter, but more about encouraging a place for single PvP combat. We'll go into much more detail in next week's blog. So I just mentioned the PvP hotspot. There was a question, what oasis you were going to take it. Some players are asking, how does it work? Say you're teleblocked in the wild and you want to enter the hotspot. What will happen?
Yeah, this is something we got a lot of questions about, I think, when we first put the blog. We've talked with some content creators and we had some talks internally. So the way it works now is there's a small, like a couple tile buffer zone outside of the Enclave. So when you leave, you can kind of walk around freely. You can travel around pretty much the whole Enclave. And you can't be attacked. As soon as you leave that, you're in the normal wilderness. But if you come back to the Enclave and you're teleblocked, that safety buffer zone doesn't work. So you can still be attacked by other players, and you can't get into the Enclave. So you got to kind of think of it as if you're teleblocked, the Enclave's off limits because you're too dangerous to come in. That safety tile buffer doesn't work. So you still have to make your way to the bottom of the wilderness, cross the ditch to lose at TB or log out. We didn't want to change up that gameplay or anything. So, and we put in quite a few messages to make it clear that you won't be allowed back in if you're teleblocked. Yeah.
Excellent. And presumably next week's release will also, the blog will cover the mechanics behind it, how you can expect it to behave in more detail. Okay, another hot topic concerning the wilderness is Rev Caves. Per you asks, could you give us an update on what will happen to Revs? Last live stream I felt the response was quite vague. Apologies for any vagueness, wasn't our intention. Last live stream, was it a live stream or was it the one where we kind of recorded it and posted it? Either way, we weren't trying to be vague. We just wanted to communicate the types of things we're actually thinking about before addressing. I did waffle a bit, so perhaps that's why it's vague. Again, like Bounty Hunter, we've decided what content we want to change. That will be covered in next week's blog, like Bounty Hunter. TLDR, we want to do it in different stages. The first stage is probably going to be around looking at the drop tables, rebalancing those, probably making it less profitable, and also looking at the effect of a bracelet. Whilst we're doing that, we'll be conducting some data analytics analysis, just looking at the impact of things like drop tables and rev cave generally. And then we use that to inform any other changes, whether that be moving revs overground, or changing the cave layout, etc., etc. Those types of things. The article in next week's blog should go into much more detail and hopefully be less vague. Okay, another question. Mod Bruno, I think you're going to take this one. Desario asks, have there been any more thought on making Granite Dust tradable? Or are you still waiting to see the Grotesque Guardians rework and its effect it has on the boss?
Yeah, something that we was thinking of doing, but we ultimately decided against, just because we don't want to once again change the meta for something like Slayer, which since the release of Old School has vastly increased in terms of XP per hour. And if we were to make it untradeable, it would make Granite Cannonballs the meta to always use, so we're a bit cautious on adding that.
Okay, kind of takes us on to the next topic. What is coming with tomorrow's game update? Can anyone walk us through that?
I can do the I'll leave Mod Bruno to do some of them, but we have a couple neat ones. Monkey backpacks are finally coming. I can't remember what all of them are off the top of my head, but Prince Awawuge monkey backpack, maniacal monkey backpack. Just remember, the lap counter starts from tomorrow. So if you've been doing A patrol agility, I'm really sorry, it doesn't count yet. And you do need to finish Monkey Madness 2 for it to start counting. So make sure you do it after that. Also, something that was requested a long time ago but finally got moved in was adding dirt to the rooftops of the agility courses to kind of help when you first start going on an agility course, a rooftop one, where you need to click and which way you need to go. So it's nothing crazy, but it's like a couple of footprints going around each course to help you know where you should be going.
Excellent. Mod Bruno, do you know what else is coming to the game tomorrow?
We also have changed the Grotesque Guardians, so we pulled a bunch of changes to the Grotesque Guardian boss. Things like shortening how long the lightning phase is, reducing the damage that you get hit during the transition, because that was kind of unfair and a bit annoying in terms of gameplay. We also removed the first lightning transition, so you won't spend as much time waiting around. We're mainly just getting rid of the transition, so that players don't really feel like the most annoying part of the fight isn't what takes the longest, and it's actually fighting the boss rather than waiting around dodging little bits of light.
Sweet. That pretty much wraps up all of the stuff from poll 71, or is there anything else outstanding?
I think there's a couple more things that will come out, not next week, but I think the week after. I know the set bonus screen that was polled isn't going to be due out for a couple more updates.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, we got
Right,
Modrock saying Superiors still to come.
Sorry, Mod Bruno, I interrupted you there.
We got Modrock saying that Superiors are still to come, so hang on to those.
Of course. How have I forgotten that? Yeah, okay. And I hope we should be sharing some perspective artwork and the assets as well with you guys pretty soon. That pretty much brings us to the end of the stream. I'm seeing a few spams in chat asking about progress on things like leagues, group Ironman, clans, etc. To those players, I would say try and make a habit of reading the Gillenor Gazette. Each Gazette has a dedicated article to project statuses. So ! Gazette to read the most recent one. There's a bit of insight into clans and how it's coming along. Modash put together a really detailed article on some of the things he's been working on and the problem he's facing. Group Iron Man, as explained in the article, is kind of locked behind Clans progress. And in terms of leagues, I think the last Gazette actually had quite a big article on leagues ideation. I was also seeing lots of misspelling of Gazette. One Z, two T's. So keep that in mind in the future. Maybe we could have chosen something a bit easier to spell for non-native speakers. Anywho, that pretty much wraps up the stream. I just want to quickly whiz through the announcements, not many of them. So a few weeks ago, we released the Death rework, fundamentally changing how it works when you die, what happens, having to add a bit more risk to the game. You've probably learned by now, it's more than likely you've died over the last 2 weeks. Anyway, !death to read the blog, also to see Ferox's video. And as you can see to the top right of the screen, we have a new mod, Mod Elena. !new mod, drop her a follow on Twitter, show your support, welcome her to the community. Okay, that wraps up the stream. Anybody for anybody else? No, all good? Excellent. Thank you very, very much for watching. What's beer? Play us out.